we may be getting a little esoteric on this, but like, do
Right.
you think this is one of those, have organizations just kind of accepted that this is how it is type of a thing? And because I find that sometimes I look at these conversations, I go, we can do better than this, but there in some ways is almost this, yeah, but I mean, this is kind of how it's always been. Where does
I,
that come from?
I think it's the reactiveness and the false narrative, right? So like,
Okay.
even if you look back, like, the world before COVID, like the economy and everybody was thriving, or at least they said they were, right? Numbers talk, like, what I
On
mean?
paper, it looked good.
Right. Wall Street's happy, but nobody was happy, right?
No,
Because if you
no, the
really look
numbers
at,
were clear. If you actually look beneath the surface,
yeah,
just because the numbers were high, people were miserable.
well, not only people were miserable, but not only that, like everybody before COVID, the talk of the town was how everybody hates millennials because millennials want skilling. What I mean,
Yeah.
they want feedback from their manager. They want to be able to move up the career ladder, and like, everybody's calling millennials high maintenance. Millennials are not high maintenance.
No, I know.
That
I
they
know it
are
was like they're so spoiled. They want to be told
what
whether they're
we
doing a
what
good
we're
job or
trying to
not.
do for years, and they were just the ones to be able to say it.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah. I like that you brought that up because sometimes I made a post about it a couple weeks ago. Because now you're starting to hear some of this with Gen Z stuff as Gen Z's moving into the marketplace as well. That, some of these things that they're asking for, they get written off as they're spoiled. It's like, no,
God.
they're not. They're just human beings who
Right,
crave to know, how am I doing? What can I grow in? How can I get better at what I'm doing at that? And it's can be written off as, well, why do you care so much about that
right,
versus, oh, that's great. And so does everyone else. I think there's often, like you said, an assumption that everyone else doesn't care.
right, right. And it's not that way. It's just this is just natural, right? And everybody wants to have these opportunities because that's why we go to work for two reasons: for our family and for compensation, and for us to be able to build and grow within ourselves and be able to add value, right? The question I always had, do you work to live or do you live to work? And right now, a lot of generations, including the millennials and those even older, we want to have value, that we're just not working to live, that we're living to work, and that it's adding value, not just for ourselves but for other individuals. Because like that's what kind of makes things cool. I mean, it's the whole reason I went into HR. It just wasn't about me. It was about other people. That I found that to be extremely valuable. It's why we're at Pearson Education. It's about other people and the value that we can drive, through education. And so people see this as charitable give back. It is not. It's about a self-evaluation of who we are, our own efficacy, and what we want to aspire to be, and all the good things that go with it, for us to be able to feel good and look in the mirror, rather than just doing things to do things. And I think that people just do things to do things because they think it's easier, but it's not. It costs them a lot of money. When
Yeah.
people leave, it costs you a lot of money. When people are happy, it costs you a lot of money. I don't know why people don't get that. Like, it's
No,
very obvious.
yeah. And your point on that is very much true in the sense that you do see this a lot where, and I've seen this just in learning and development as a whole, but you see this even broader in organizations, is the idea that, like you said, well, it's just easier if people just showed up and just did what we need and then went home and didn't have this desire for meaning and purpose in what they did. And to your point, on paper, that sounds really good, but you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with robots.
Right.
And like you said, when that purpose, when that stuff isn't there, people's performance is actually down. And it's not just this altruistic thing like, well, you invest in people because it's good for them. Like, well,
Right. Good
yes,
for you.
and it's affecting your bottom line.
Right. Good for you. I mean, it goes back to, so like the one organization that I was working with, like the CFO had 40% of employee attrition baked into the number. And I looked at that, I'm like, whoa, I can make some money, right? As HR, I know how to make this company money, because like that's ridiculous. 40% turnover baked into your numbers. So you're basically saying you're going to lose money and lose
Right.
people, but you have it baked in. And so that's what your forecast. And the way that I'm looking at it is, that's an atrocious amount of people and money. And what if I were just to bring that down half? How much money not only can I save you, but how much more money, you could add, like, to your overall bottom line. And so like, it's getting into the intricacies of that.